So the other story this weekend was John Cena turning heel. It really was big news. Everywhere you scrolled on social media, everywhere you looked, John Cena's gone heel? He's the bad guy now? He's the bad guy. So it poses the question, who are the best bad guys in sports? Because for me, the first guy that comes to mind to me is probably, without even talking to Rich about it, probably the first guy that comes to mind for Rich. And we'll see who that is. But let's hear what John Cena said over the weekend. Well, let's hear the moment.
He didn't say anything.
Let's hear the moment.
Everyone thought he was hugging it out with Cody Rhodes. And, they had a wrestling WWE pay-per-view.
I saw it.
And you saw it. And then as he's hugging Cody Rhodes, The Rock gives him the old throat slit, like, do it. Cena has, like, an odd look on his face because you're not used to seeing him mean.
Yeah, he looked like Ernest P. Worrell, bro.
He, as John Cena gets older,
he was like, hey, Vern.
He starts to look like Ernest.
I say that respectfully. I like Ernest.
John Cena scared stupid. And this is how it went down.
There's your main event for WrestleMania. John Cena.
Oh, boy.
Oh, no! No way! What the?
All right, so
that is the best audio clip we've played all year.
Yeah. All right, now let's think of
why, John?
Let's think of the best bad guys in sports based on John Cena going heel. On the count of three, Rich, because Rich and I haven't discussed this.
Okay.
Announce the first person that comes to mind for you.
By the way, we haven't discussed this. Is code for we prep, but not everything.
Right. We don't give each other our answers
There's
away.
no script.
Ready?
All right. On the count of three. Oh, you going to do 1, 2, 3 answer?
Yep.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
John
Albert
Rocker.
Bell. I had John Rocker written down, though.
Okay.
But Albert Bell was the first guy that came to mind to me because he was such a badass, dude. That Fernando Vina clip forever burned in my memory.
He just knocked him out for no reason. Do you guys ever yes, I'm remembering correctly. Do you remember when Albert Bell got hit by a pitch and he refused to go to first base? He's like, I want to keep hitting.
I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah, like, and he's like,
he was such a badass, dude. And you look up his numbers, you're like, damn, dude. He was a badass, and he produced. But that Fernando Vina clip, again, Fernando Vina was playing second base for the Mariners, right? Do you remember? Oh, no, you're a Brewers guy, Dan. But Fernando Vina was playing second. Albert Bell just pummels the dude. Boom! Lifts him off his feet. Knocks his hat off. Albert Bell, to me, was like Mike Tyson on the Cleveland Indians. So he's the first that comes to mind for me. John Rocker's a great answer. Who else comes to mind for you?
Bad guys?
Yeah, 877-99 on Fox.
I love the new John Cena. Is John Cena, is he going to keep wearing the same? Is he going to, you remember when Hogan went bad? Hogan went from.
No, I think Cena shaves his head now and grows a goat.
Yeah, you think he changes the look?
Takes it home, yeah. He takes it home.
When I think bad guys in the NFL, I think of two guys. When I say bad, I'm not saying they're bad dudes. It's just their game was a little dirty, and I feel like you would agree. I'm going to give you two names. You tell me who you think stands out more.
Bad dudes.
Yeah, I got one.
When I say Ndamukong Suh or Bill Romanowski.
Bill Romanowski comes to mind, absolutely.
Ndamukong Suh would like step on people and be like, what?
Yeah. That clip, especially. Didn't he step on someone's crotch?
I think he like stepped on someone's ankle. I know that. We can say crotch. That makes it even better.
Yeah.
He stepped on a guy's crotch.
You're not confusing him with Draymond, are you? That was more of a ping.
Is Draymond a bad guy?
But you know who came to mind from Mike who runs this place?
Who?
Mike. Sitting in the meeting area. You know who's a bad guy? I said, who? Rob Dibble. He's like, but he said he was the greatest, nicest guy when he worked here, but Rob Dibble was a badass on the mound.
You know, I look back to pictures of him when he was in his younger years with the Pistons. Dennis Rodman was a little clean cut at the time.
Yeah.
And then what he became.
That was like before all the tattoos and piercings. Yeah.
Dude, and then he did step on crotches too.
Bro, to tie it all together, we're talking about wrestling. We learned in the Last Dance documentary, Dennis Rodman disappeared and showed up on Monday Night Nitro. That is like a real story that like Apparently, Phil Jackson, Jordan, the whole team's like, yo, where's Dennis? We got to track down Dennis. And he pops up smoking a cigar, holding a championship belt, spray painting NWO with Hulk Hogan.
Anytime.
He also went over to North Korea and played basketball with Kim Jong-un or Kim Jong-il or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was some bad boy diplomacy, I guess.
Again, it's more about reputation. We don't know the real story because people always said Kurt Schilling was a bad dude, and we recently had him on our show at Super Bowl. I loved his baseball stories. Seemed like a swell fella.
No one says he's a bad guy. They don't like him politically. There's a difference.
But that's not fair because that's why he's not in the Hall of Fame right now.
What about when you hear, like, all right, who was sort of a see? Are we confusing badass and bad guy? Like, oh, he was like,
He's had a bad reputation, as being a bad guy.
I'm the bad boy.
He was more of a bad boy, more of a heel than a good guy.
Who is a good heel in the world of sports? In the world of baseball, Mitch Williams, the pitcher, don't you feel like he sort of
Yeah, but
had a reputation?
I just think of him blowing it for the Phillies. What I think.
Yeah, but he had that reputation. He was like,
he had a bad mullet. But he seemed like he leaned more of a badass a little bit. I don't know why I'm confusing myself. Is it Honus Wagner who always had the reputation, or was it
Ty Cobb?
Ty Cobb.
Ty Cobb had a reputation.
Ty Cobb had the reputation of going cleats first, being a dirty player, being that dude. Yeah, so Ty Cobb is definitely in that conversation.
Possibly racist. You always hear those stories. My apologies to Honus. I knew I was confusing my old timers.
But yeah, Ty Cobb for sure was the guy.
By the way, I don't know if I'm a big baseball guy, but I feel like I only hear Honus Wagner spoken about about his baseball card.
I don't know
like
why.
he had great. When you look up his numbers, he was a great player. But
I think he hit over 300 for his career.
Yeah, he was a great player. But I think his reputation. You know how like Tommy John was
his
a great
reputation
pitcher.
lives on a tobacco card.
Yeah, like to me, like Tommy John was a great pitcher. Played in the bigs for years. But Tommy John is best known for his surgery. Honus Wagner is best known because he has the most rare baseball card.
Well,
you know who
it's
I think
from the
of?
book, right? The kid's book, Honus and Me. I read that as a kid.
I think of just old VHS baseball highlight videos that I would have. And I don't know if he was really a bad guy, but he seemed to be like an angry sort of badass on the mound. And you always see these clips from the 1970s of Al Hrabosky, the mad Hungarian, and he'd be on the mound all fired up, growling at something, and you got to throw like intimidation factor in there too, Rich. I always think of Bob Gibson was just a badass. He was all business, just a bad. I wouldn't say he's the sweetest guy on the mound.
I like where you're going with this. I don't want to confuse like badass and bad guy, but there's a guy who he held nothing back when he pitched, the ultimate competitor, but at times he was very honest about, I'm throwing at a guy. That's how I play. Pedro Martinez. As a Yankees fan, I'm surprised you didn't think of him earlier.
I thought of him, and I thought of him when Danny played the Soul Glow clip. So I thought of him twice today.
How about, let's go to the world of MMA. How about Chuck Liddell?
Badass, the Iceman. Again, is he a nice guy? Dude, he is like the people's champ, especially out here. Everybody has some sort of Chuck Liddell sighting or story. Like, I saw him at Costco like a month ago. He's always around and out and about and very approachable, so he's a nice dude. But he was a badass, bro. He just was. In the octagon, he was not playing any games. He was a bad dude. You could tell some guys lean nice and they're kind, swell fellas. Some dudes are, like, angry and get out of my face.
I think there's certain people that their reputation of being like, the bad guy sort of helps their brand and their money. I think if Floyd Money Mayweather was like a really sweet guy, I don't think.
Yeah, he played the role of
like,
heel.
The
That's
fact
how
that
he sold those fights.
He's wearing a sombrero, calling himself the Mexican assassin. Like
he leaned into that.
He leaned into it, and I think in the world of MMA also, if Conor McGregor was like some sweet Irishman, would it have worked? Like I think the fact that
he definitely played the role of like heel. He played the role of bad boy.
Now he's playing the role of isn't he managing a girl group?
Yeah,
did you see that headline?
I don't know.
Somebody in the tennis world, when we were kids, our parents and grandparents liked him because they knew he was going to have a meltdown. John McEnroe.
Johnny Mac is the best.
John McEnroe was known. Like back then, if you were like Jimmy Connors or John McEnroe was the guy you liked if you leaned towards. Like remember when you were a kid, there were
best tantrums. John McEnroe.
When you were a kid, this is the best way to do the analogy. You know how you had friends that they actually like the bad wrestlers. Like your friend be like, I love Demolition and I love, Mr. Perfect and I love Jake the Snake. Like they like the bad guys. In sports, that's who like John McEnroe.
Yeah, Jimmy Connors, even though he was a fiery dude too, he was more of like the nice guy or like professional. John McEnroe was such a crybaby, dude, because he was a bad boy. He was a bad guy, kind of. Look, you get where we're going.
Razor Ramon was the bad guy.
877-99 on Fox.
All right.
We'll take your phone calls. Again, the big story this weekend was John Cena has turned heel. He's the bad guy.
I wonder how that works because he's so motivational, like with the kids, But then again, let's be honest. When we were kids, train, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, Hulkamania USA. Like before, Hogan rubbed people the wrong way. Later, when we were kids, the idea of Hulk Hogan being a bad guy just made zero sense. Like that was the coolest, most random move when he decided he was going to go Hollywood Hogan. So I wonder if 30 years later. John Cena, you can't see me, Mr. Make-A-Wish, Mr. doing all these things for the kids. The fact that John Cena is going out now, like this is the final little run for John Cena. The fact that he's like, after all these years, after never being a heel, is he going to lean in and be a real bad guy or what? It should be fun. It makes me want to watch a little bit, to be honest.
I mean, it got my attention over the weekend. I'm not a big wrestling fan anymore. As a kid, obviously, we all grew up with that. So, again, if anyone else comes to mind, you want to give them props because you need that. I think Floyd Mayweather is one of the greater examples you threw out here, Rich. It builds intrigue. Sometimes you want good versus bad, good versus evil. You know what I mean? You want it like that.
You know who's a great villain? And by villain, by bad guy, I mean, like, when you want to see the people lose, that means they've done their job. It's like Jake Paul.
He's a great villain.
Like you don't watch Jake Paul hoping he wins. You watch Jake Paul saying, "Man, I really hope someone knocks him on his ass."
Exactly.
And then when he wins and he's arrogant about it, you're like, "Oh man, I'll watch again."
It's part of it. You need to sell the fight. You need to sell the game sometimes.
I'll tell you what. When you guys mentioned Albert Bell early, it's tough to top. I mean, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was. He was quite the dude. Christian Laettner fits your recent explanation, as you were just talking about here, because he was the kid from Duke that won all the time, and then you saw a little nasty streak when he steps on the stomach of a player from Kentucky in their Elite Eight game, but you couldn't beat him, which made it more frustrating. He'd hit the game-winning shots, but in playing that role of villain and the guy that you love to hate, I think that Christian Laettner is one of the top guys, especially in college basketball.
And he's randomly referenced on the show Paradise.
Oh, he is. He's like a code word.
He's a code word
for Sterling K. Brown's character.
I got a
Laettner,
an adjacent, an Albert Bell adjacent, like a poor man's Albert Bell that comes to mind as a Yankees fan. But I believe he was also an Indian at one point. There's a famous story, if you're a Yankees fan, about why they got rid of Mel Hall. And he actually turned out to be a bad guy. I always thought he had a bad guy sort of reputation, and he was sort of a badass when he played baseball. Do you guys remember Mel Hall? He hit majestic bombs.
I remember the name, and I remember watching him play, but I don't remember
the dude hit bombs.
Didn't
but
he turn out to be a bad guy?
He really turned out. He's behind bars as we speak, if I'm not mistaken, for bad things he did. But he would bully Bernie Williams, bully him, really belittle him and make him feel inferior. And the Yankees were like, "Yo, Bernie Williams is our guy," and they had to get rid of Mel Hall because he was killing the confidence of Bernie Williams.
Yeah,
he was such a bad dude. They're like, "Get rid of this guy."
You know who had that reputation on my team in the '80s? I'm sure everyone has that guy. By the time the Mets in the '80s, and again, give me this moment because it was my childhood and the only time the Mets won and were good. But when they had all those young stars, Gary Carter coming over from the Expos, Keith Hernandez, veteran guy like him, all these young guys, the Darrells and Docs and Kevin Mitchells and Kevin Elsters and the Hojos. You know who was known to be sort of not a great guy?
I do. I guess?
Yeah.
George Foster.
Yeah, George Foster.
That's why they got rid of him.
They had to get rid of George Foster because he was he just didn't fit in the mix.
And everybody remembers they had the George Foster 1986 card, and he's wearing his dark tinted glasses and everything.
With the mutton chops?
Yeah, you're like, oh, wait, was he on that team? No, they got rid of him. All right, rapid fire, 877-99 on Fox. Who else comes to mind in celebration of John Cena as the heel now?
He's the bad guy. Eric in Phoenix. What's up, Eric?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? I think Iowa Samuel alluded to him earlier, but A.J. Przinsky hated on the Twins before he was hated on the White Sox. He was polled as like the most hated in all of the league for quite a while.
He had a weird guy sort of
true.
reputation. You know how Trevor Bauer had that, like, he rubbed everybody the wrong way reputation? And I'm not talking in the bedroom. I meant in the clubhouse.
Yes.
You know, that's kind of how he was perceived for a while. Who else do we got?
Kyle, Washington. Go.
Hi. I think one of the greatest heels in NFL history. We can't overlook Richard Sherman. The guy might have been a great guy off the field, but, man, put a microphone in front of him, he cut some good promos.
Let me tell you, Sherman's the guy that when he's on your team, you love him. When he's not, you hate him. And I could speak as a Niners fan.
Without a doubt.
Love Sherm, but there was a point where I'm like, I hate that guy. And I'm sure Dan Byer feels the same way. Let's go to Sean in Illinois. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm thinking along the lines of football. Cincinnati Bengals, Montez Perfect.
Yeah, guys that take hits, there's always a couple guys that have a reputation of taking some cheap hits. Let's go to Heavy in Tampa. What's up?
Yeah, man. What's up, fella?
What's up, man?
Hey, I have to, everybody are going pros and stuff. I have to go back to the college. I'm going to say Grayson Allen.
Grayson Allen?
That's
a good one.
Yes, the tripping.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Did anyone say Bill Laimbeer or no?
Oh, you took Big Bert's answer.
gosh.
Apologize to Big Bert.
I
Georgia.
Sammed him.
Bert, I feel like I felt your vibe, man. I felt your vibe.
Minds think alike, man. It's the New York connection, boy. How you speak about the bad boys without Bill Laimbeer, man? I saw more left hooks in his highlight realms than.
Yeah, half that team. You know, because you got to remember, even Joe Dumars would mix it up.
Yeah, man, you and Birch get a room.
It's so funny how you do it. I feel like I did feel him on the phone thinking it.